I honestly think Shakur wants the fight more than Gervonta Davis does. And I've been to the press conferences, both guys, I asked them both about each other and I've heard their answers, and it just seems like Tank always feels like Shakur doesn't ultimately, belong in the conversation of even getting a fight with Tank. He doesn't even think Shakur deserves a fight. But if you look at the rankings, like all the rankings, they have Shakur somewhere in there. Shakur wasn't too happy that he was ranked number 3 behind Keyshawn Davis and at the number 1 spot, Gervonta Davis. But at the end of the day, I still think Tank and Shakur are the biggest names, but it's up to Tank really. Like, Shakur's already said he wants to fight Tank, but he's getting exhausted and tired of, having to call him out time and time again. And I think it's a very winnable fight for Tank, but he doesn't want to give the opportunity to Shakur. Like, it's obvious that it's also something personal. Not only does he not want to fight him, I think Tank honestly might want to fight Shakur, but it's like he doesn't want to give Shakur the payday. He doesn't want to give him the platform. Like, he was willing to give it to Ryan, he was willing to give it to Lamont Roach, Rolly, all these guys, but he's not willing to give it to Shakur, and I'm curious why. And, it could be because he understands that Shakur is one of the more talented fighters. He's been in there with Shakur. Maybe he's seen some frustrating moments that he's had. According to Tank, he's cracked Shakur in sparring, but, sparring is sparring. And I think Shakur, he's a grown man and Tank's a grown man. It's been years since they've been in the ring with each other. Why not do it on the biggest stage, when the time is right? And I think that time is now. Both Tank and Shakur are at the top of their games at 135. They're arguably the best along with Keyshawn Davis. But, Shakur and Tank have been the two names at the top for a while now. So I think that's the fight that needs to be made. And, it belongs and it's owed to both guys. I feel like Tank is gonna waste time ultimately because I understand he's getting that Lamont Roach rematch, and I get that, but let's say, in my opinion, I think Tank's gonna beat Lamont, and I think he's gonna beat him badly this time. I think it's gonna be a different fight where Tank's a little bit more angry, has more of a chip on his shoulder. But let's say he gets past Lamont Roach and fights Shakur Stevenson. Is it really realistic that he's going to take that fight? I don't know, but I really do like the idea because that's the best fighting the best. Shakur wants it, but I also get why Tank and his team may be a little bit hesitant because I've seen Tank and I've seen Shakur. Shakur's bigger than Tank. He's relatively bigger than Tank, and he's bigger than Lamont as well. So you got Shakur at 135, and Shakur's saying he has no problem making 135. He's barely a 135 pounder, and so is Tank. So these two are going to be at lightweight for a while, in my opinion, and it's all about whether or not Tank wants to take the fight with Shakur, because Shakur said he'll be ready. He understands that Tank's the superstar. He's the big name in the sport, but he thinks that his skills are better than Tank's, and in a fight, that Shakur will win ultimately and prove why he's better than Tank. But, we have to wait and see because it's such a interesting dynamic where we thought Tank was so unbeatable, and then on one night he looks ordinary and everybody changes their opinions. I don't think it's that simple. I think if Tank comes back, beats Lamont Roach, then everybody's back on the hype train, and then everybody's going to change their predictions again for Shakur versus Tank. But I'm sticking by my prediction. Like, if Shakur and Tank goes down, I still don't automatically think Shakur wins just because Tank had a close fight with Lamont. Shakur's not willing to do certain things that Lamont was doing, but then again, Shakur is a better pure boxer than Lamont is. Lamont's willing to sit in that pocket and, take chances to hurt Tank. I don't think Shakur will do that. I think Shakur is going to move a lot and make sure that he's boxing him and be smart about it. It's just going to be a different style that Tank's going to have to deal with. But, you can't really compare Lamont and Shakur and say that because Lamont was able to do this to Tank that Shakur is going to do this. You can't do that because styles make fights, and Shakur and Lamont have completely different styles. I wouldn't even mind seeing Lamont and Shakur at some point, but I still prioritize that Tank fight with Shakur Stevenson because that's number 1 versus number 2. Wherever you have Tank, wherever you have Shakur, both guys, those are the top 2 guys. Because Keyshawn, as good as he is and as exciting as he is, he's an electrifying fighter for sure, but it's been Tank and Shakur for a while now, so that's really the fight I want to see. But I'm skeptical as to whether or not Tank even wants it. It's clear to me, just listening to their interviews, to the way that they talk about each other, that Shakur wants it way more than Tank does. And, you know, is that because Shakur is more confident, or is it just the fact that Tank doesn't want to give Shakur the opportunity? I'm not sure, but I hope the fight goes down because this is the best fighting the best, and stylistically it's an intriguing matchup. It's like, will Shakur be able to be perfect for 12 rounds, and will Tank be able to land that money shot and, you know, maybe stop Shakur or maybe even outbox him? Because that's the reason I still give the edge to Tank. I think he has multiple ways of beating Shakur. I think Tank can beat Shakur in a decision, maybe drop him, or, you know, even stop him. So that's two different ways, by decision or by stoppage. But Shakur, you know, his only way to beat Tank, in my opinion, is to outbox him and beat him in a decision, and a unanimous decision. But it's a big possibility because Shakur's got the goods for sure. It's all about, you know, whether or not he's going to be able to be busy enough and take chances without getting caught against a guy like Tank, who's precise and does have the ability to time even the best fighters in the world. So we'll see what happens. Tank and Lamont Roach, you know, coming up, but I really want to see Tank and Shakur. But thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next NAS Boxing video. Peace.